right, what's up, guys? We're back for episode 6, and as we announced earlier this week and at the end of last week, we got Tommy Jeter and Chris McCoy on here. We're going to talk about some enduro karting leagues, things like that. Just fun stuff that we can all enjoy, and it's competitive. And hey, Tate, what's up, man? And we're going to ask them some questions, get to know them a little bit, and learn some more about RVA karting and endurance karting, stuff like that. And we'll get set up here. And we already got Tommy, so he's in waiting here. We don't have to wait a whole lot for somebody to come on, and then we'll have Chris on in just a little bit. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Tommy on. If you guys got questions for him, go ahead and send them in the comments. We can see him live, and I'll ask him just like I have every other show. So, Mr. Tommy Jeter, he's coming on. 3, 2, 1. There he is. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, Robbie, how you doing, man? It's been a little bit since I've seen you face to face.
Yeah, just a little bit, man. You been keeping busy?
Oh yeah. When we're not doing an RVA karting event, I'm somewhere else running. Just did a 2-hour Ironman race out at VIR a couple Saturdays ago. So it's
Gotcha.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, we just started racing season back, and I'm sure you guys are going to be picking up here in the heat of summer also. So I want to go ahead and jump right into this. We've mentioned it. I shared your page, RVA karting. I want you to go ahead and give us kind of an idea of what you guys do with RVA karting.
So what it started out as was just a way to let people within a reasonable drive of Richmond, Virginia, RVA, know about arrive and drive karting events that might be going on, whether they were leagues or enduros. And that's a reasonable drive. GoPro Motorplex was usually about as far away as people might go, but maybe Le Mans Karting in Greenville, South Carolina, Atlanta Motorsports Park, up to Summit Point, back when they had the SPK kart track, and of course G-Force and other tracks around here, VIR. That's what it started as. Just let people know it was kind of a neutral ground. I let other tracks, I let those tracks say, hey, we got our event coming up. They could post whatever they wanted. Mid-Atlantic Kart Enduro Series still posts their events on the RVA karting page. It's just like a friendly place to go for karting. But over time, people started asking me to kind of organize my own events. I'd actually helped G-Force with some league events, getting them organized with a unique format that was popular enough to bring people from 3 hours away on a Thursday night to race in a league race. We had people coming from Lynchburg that would race, and it was kind of funny. The regular attenders, the locals, were only maybe 3 or 4 racers. We had people from Stafford, Fredericksburg, Louisa, all coming on a Thursday night to do a league race, and that was kind of the beginning of it. So, enough pressure from other people, I started trying to see what I could do, and I came up with our very first 8-hour endurance race, RVA karting race, was September 2019 at VIR's kart track. 10 teams, $1,000 a team, 8-hour race. It's amazing how that event went off. There was a lot of, somewhere I've got through the numbers, you'd have to search through the page to find it. I meant to find it for the event. I'm sorry, but we're talking, first of all, our primary focus is rental karts. Not you don't have to own your own kart. You don't even necessarily have to have your own helmet, your own gear. But it's definitely going to be most of the time gasoline karts, and it's going to be show up and drive their karts. You get a flat tire, they'll bring you in, put you in another kart. You get a blown motor, bring you in, put you in another kart. So you're spending your money up front, and it's not you having to go buy a couple of $1,000 used kart and then spend all this money on tires and the way to get it there and all this other stuff. This is just show up and drive and have fun. So that's where $1,000 entry for an 8-hour event, that really doesn't sound that bad when you're not having to bring all your own equipment to do that. There is a huge market for this. And there's actually an organization that I think it's World Karting Association, World Karting Championship, something like that. They have every year an annual arrive and drive karting event somewhere. 2019 was at Victory Lane Karts in Charlotte. This past year, COVID nixed it, but it was supposed to be in Portugal. There's and some of the racers that race with RVA karting usually go and represent the United States in these events, which it seems kind of crazy compared to what you guys do at Arbor Mile or Capital City. But the amazing part too is this is a good intro for people. They don't want to necessarily go spend the money until they know whether or not they got the talent. They can get out here, they can learn, they can figure out if maybe they've got what it takes. And there's quite a few of our members or our fan base that move on into other forms of racing. That first event, September, we've had a couple events at GoPro Motorplex. The most recent one was back in February. I have not done an event yet that wasn't a sellout. So that's been a really exciting thing to be lucky enough to organize them and have fan base passionate enough. Usually every event I do draws from about 6 states. So that's pretty cool too for like rental based stuff.
Oh yeah, I'd say for sure. I know the very first one that you and I that I ever went to with you was at VIR, and that really opened my eyes to some of the possibility. I mean, it wasn't really any fans at that event, but it was enough people for us to sit there and say, it was 3 of us, I think, on that team. It was enough people for us to say that, like, wow, there's not a lot of us on this team, and there's a lot of other teams that have a lot of guys on them.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a surprise there.
I've done everything from a 1-man team to an 8-person team, and depending upon the race. I know the longest ones I've participated in, twice I've done 14-hour races, and I've done several 12-hour races as far as participation. As far as my own events, we had the 8-hour at VIR back in 2019. We had a league-style event at GoPro Motorplex February of 2020, and then the world went nuts. The interesting part, that started off with us racing in the snow at GoPro Motorplex. It snowed during our event. And then, RVA karting basically supported the industry the rest of 2020, bringing 5 teams to an 8-hour race at Charlotte Motor Speedway presented by Endurance Karting, who will be here in a little while. Bringing teams for charity races in Baltimore. VIR, the race you and I ran together, just you and I at VIR. I remember you got a nice little, probably still have a scar on your leg from
just a little
touching the tire with your leg. Didn't have to wear a suit, so your shorts kind of got you. Doing that downhill off camber turn, which is so much fun. It got you good. You had that there for a little while, but Mid-Atlantic Kart Enduro Series headed up by John Felton. They normally do anywhere between 3 to 4 of those events at VIR. They're always a 2-hour twilight race. You start in the day, you end in the dark. I've actually started now. I bring a headlamp. I actually run a headlamp on my helmet, uses a GoPro mount, and it gets dark. I cut the light on. People think it's crazy, but I'm like, you know what? People see me coming behind them, and they know I'm there, and it's amazing how much room they'll give you when they realize you're really there and that you're so much, that you're faster than them. It's also, a curse if you're not running so good that time. They know exactly where you are and how fast they're catching you. So
yeah, and we had I don't know if you saw it on here, Dewey Loman. He posted that there's drivers from 16 to 60 years old. So just know that age isn't a big thing in these.
The VIR 8-hour part of the by the numbers that I did was the age range. We had drivers that the youngest was 19 and the oldest was 69. So we had a 50-year age range just in that one race. And we actually the fastest, the most competitive driver we had there was a young lady who does occasional. I think she does like late model series, sometimes at South Boston, other places. Her name's Jessica. Her last name I'm drawing a blank on right now. But she was really, really fast. But she was the girlfriend of another NASCAR driver's had an occasional start in the Xfinity series. Colin Garrett, I think was his name. And while him and I were on par at speed, especially when weighted the same, she was just in a whole nother class. She was like, she literally toyed with the other team that was competing with her. She would pass them and then let them back by pass them, let them back by, and she did that for like the first 30 minutes of the 8-hour race. If that team had not had a weight penalty during one of their driver swaps, that driver Colin came up. It was like, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3/10 of a pound short getting out of the cart. They lost a lap because of that, and at the end of the race, they were about a half a lap down to the first place team. So she was by far the class of everybody out there. Love to have her come back and race with us again at some point. But they live a different life. They got a whole different. I was lucky to have them in the field to begin with. But it's like I said, I haven't had an event yet. I mean, even this GoPro event that we just did back in February, that was a 4-hour endurance race, and it was done almost like NASCAR style. We had 3 different stages, but what it was we ran an hour on their full version of the track. We ran an hour and a half on the medium version, and then an hour and a half on the short version with a small break in between to kind of line everybody back up and change the track out. And all the other 4 hours. And we had, of course, racers from Virginia and North Carolina, but we also had Maryland, South Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. As a matter of fact, the guy that from Pennsylvania ran as a solo. He ran all 4 hours by himself and actually topped the entire field.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I know that I've been sharing the page with everybody during the week. And for those, not everybody's knows about these endurance races and things like that. So there's different rules for different tracks, or do you pretty much try and keep the same rule setup everywhere you go?
So, a lot of times there's rule constraints. Endurance Karting, who will be here later, we're partnered for the next 4 enduros that RVA Karting has, and their rules are a little bit different than mine. They like to have more classes. They like to do shorter runs, required stops. I did a 6-hour as an Ironman with them back in October, and even though I was running as an Ironman and we had our own class, I still had to do a total of 13 stops. They were just 20-second hold and go, and then 2 cart swaps during that 6 hours. But that was just what everybody had to do, regardless of their team size. Me personally, I usually shoot mine to be closer to about an hour. When I did the 8-hour, but you got to kind of make it work for whatever track you're doing. I liked when I did the 8-hour one at the halfway point, we actually threw a caution and pulled out a pace vehicle, reversed direction, and started back up, ran the second half in the opposite direction. But even that was randomized. We had a coin toss at the beginning about which direction we were going to do at the start, and then we had a chip draw by the track director there for 1, 2, or 3. And if it was 1, we were doing a halfway direction change. If it was 2, we were doing 1 at the 2-hour and the 6-hour mark. If we were doing 3, it was 2, 4, and 6. It was just going to swap it up. It makes it harder for crew chiefs to figure out what they got to do. And when it comes to endurance stuff, that's the thing. It's amazing. I'm never the fastest guy on my team. I somehow or another attract people that are faster than me, but I'm a great strategist. So when I am racing with one of those teams, they have faith in whatever my strategy is that I come up with, and they're like, just tell me when to go out there and race, tell me when it's time to come back in. But then also adjusting on the fly. You get a really, really good cart, hey, you know what? You're going to be in there for 30 minutes, but we're going to leave you in there for an hour and a half. You're just going to have to tough it out because that cart's running faster than the other carts that we have. We don't get to tweak these carts. We can't, adjust the tire pressures and change idle or anything with these things. It's get in, go. And you got to learn to drive with what it is. First one you had was slippery loose, and the next one you got is pushing like a dog. And you got to figure out how to get the same lap times out of them.
Yeah, and also wanted to mention that you've mentioned it. You mentioned it already on here, but you guys don't race just when it's sunny outside. At the dirt track, we have to have sunny weather, dry weather, things like that. You guys have raced in snow. You've raced in rain. I mean, what's the worst conditions other than the snow? What's the worst conditions that you've had to race in with that series and things?
So Summit Point had reopened in the parking lot of RFK Stadium. So they called it SPK Capital. And they had, I think it was about an 18-turn course. It was the last 14-hour enduro that I did. I think this was October 2 years ago coming up. The race ran from 7 p.m. until 9 a.m. And there was no stint length rule on drivers. You had to change carts every so often, but the driver didn't have to change. And my team, all of us were used to running in the rain, which it had rained quite a bit on the way up to this. This was the track that got me doing the headlamps because their lighting was not good. So everyone was required to run a headlamp on their helmet. So I went out from 11 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. It full on rained twice during my stint. The track never dried during that stint. And running in the rain, headlamp. The only advantage that I knew that I had was when I went out that our experienced team had 4 laps on the field. So when I got caught in some traffic, I didn't worry about trying to fight my way through them. And I've actually got video of 3 guys in front of me, including the second place team, managed to unlap themselves, but they were fighting so hard to get around this lap traffic. They spun one of them, got black flagged, and the track cleared for me. It's just patience. But I'll tell you, I forget, somebody told me when you're racing in the rain on slicks, what I've learned is that the rule is if you're gonna cross rubber, if you're gonna cross where the tire is built up, the rubber on the track, you're gonna go straight. So you have to start thinking that it doesn't matter that you're already turning. Once you hit the rubber and it's wet, you're no longer going to be turning. You're going to be going straight at that point on. So you just plan to hit the rubber straight. And where the rubber's built up. It's where the line is, where everybody's already been running. So you get past the rubber and then you turn. And you'll be amazed at how much grip you can get off slicks on a wet track. But you just got to have that forethought to think it through. And then the people that don't think that and they go in tight, you got to kind of have patience to let them slide up in front of you and then cut under them. But it's definitely a skill set. Mm-hmm. But it's fun. I mean, it sucks getting soaked and wet and everything, but when you're out there and you can pull off the finesse for that, it makes it better.
Confidence builder.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are blazing fast on a dry track and can't drive on a wet track for nothing. Mm-hmm. And when they get out there and they go from being five tenths faster than you to 2 seconds slower than you, it's like, well, you know what? And I mean, the dirt at Bristol this weekend, that says some of it there too. It's an entirely different beast, driving on dirt as it is on asphalt. So.
You're right. And, little bit of change of pace here real quick. I wanted to know, instead of what started RVA karting, because you've mentioned that people started asking you about starting up something, what got you interested in racing? Because I know you were Marines, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
and
go ahead.
I was just at, what brought your attention to racing?
So weirdly enough, I was never really big into racing until the very first NASCAR race I ever watched was the first one that Jeff Gordon ran, the last one that the King ran. And, I was there with seasoned fans. There's an Earnhardt fan, a Waltrip fan, a Mark Martin fan. And I was like, oh, well, that rainbow car looks cool. I'll root for that guy. They're like, oh, yeah, he'll never amount to anything. That was literally my first race. And I got into it. And everybody talks, 500 miles, they're just turning left. Well, no, it's not just that. There is so much that goes into it. There's so much science into it. And the sad part with all this is that I found out way too late in my life that my dad was very much into racing. I once took him to Southside Speedway thinking that, I had won free tickets. And I took him, and he's like saying hi to all these people he knows. And it was like he was more of a regular there. And it's just something that didn't connect with me because he wasn't a big part of my life growing up. If he was around now, I think he'd be kind of, probably one of my biggest supporters just because I've gotten so much into it. But I've had the passion for a long time. And then, my wonderful wife, who I met back in 2007, and she's been very supportive of it. And, started off with trying to get me a membership at G-Force to where I could go up there and kind of do a lot more races than just showing up and spending a little bit here or there. And for a long time, I had an annual membership at G-Force where I could basically just show up there and race as much as I wanted. I live in Mechanicsville, right off of Pole Green, which, led right to G-Force. It was a 10-minute drive, if that. It was a good stress relief. And just over time, I got better and better. And First endurance race I ever did was there. It was a 2-hour enduro, and me and Don Schumann, he's been racing at Dominion for a little while, now I can't think of his. I want to say it's. I know his name. I'm drawing a blank. It was an older gentleman. We ran together on a team. I think we finished third, and we didn't expect to finish third. We've never done anything like that. It was the first time I'd ever passed Dylan Levin on track. Yeah, Dylan Levin on track. He had actually, it was my final stint out there, and I'd just come out. He's coming up behind me, and I actually pointed him by because I'm like, I'm going to follow him. He's always faster than me. I'll follow him, see if I can't learn something. And the next thing I know, he's pointing me back by because I ran him back down. In the race, he told me, he said, if I weigh as much as you guys, which for that race was 200 pounds, which is usually what I weigh without weight, then I was running the same speed he was with the ballast. So, that kind of got it going. And then, doing a 12-hour at SPK and having it handed to us out there, finishing 15th, we showed up all confident and walked away, in 15th place. We still had a lot of fun, but man, it was a crazy race. And that was the first long one. But I love doing the kart racing. I've got my own LO206 right now, but I'll tell you, to get this LO206 just about anywhere, I mean, you pretty much got to go to GoPro. You've got to go to maybe United Karting up in Baltimore. I could get a dirt cart, but then I'm going to be spending even more money because that's a weekly series, and I could just go right over here to Capitol, and my wife will kill me then. But a lot of that got me into karting. My wife somewhat got me into the RVA karting because she said, can you figure out a way to stop spending so much racing? So I made it a business. So now even when I race, it's usually a write-off in some manner or another. So
that's awesome. And Connor Strong, I don't know if you remember him and his dad, Brian. Yeah, Connor, remembering the G-Force days. Yep.
Yes.
It was so many of us in and out of there. And it's and Dylan Loving, mentioning him, I've heard his name mentioned. I think it's on 3 shows now.
Yes.
So I might have to
get David Nettles. David Nettles has been brought up several times too.
Yep, David Nettles. And speaking of David, that was what I wanted to transition into next. Okay, so you're going from RVA karting, where you're running the endurance races. You're trying to figure out where you're going next. You're partnering up with endurance karting, things like that. What got you to say, somebody like David, we're gonna sponsor you, and we're going to come to the track and learn a lot and things like that? I know on the sponsor side, you usually want to learn, but what kind of got you into that?
So, well, first of all, David, we developed a relationship because Le Mans Karting in Portsmouth kept trying to do leagues, and G-Force wasn't very league friendly since they had gone outside. They were having some issues with trying to get the kart somewhat even, and they just didn't want to commit to trying to put on an event like that. So, next closest place was Le Mans. So I started doing their league events and developed a relationship with David. And of course, he was talking about his dirt karting, and I've been out there a couple of times to see it. But I'm not going to lie, that was a straight up business decision. One, I trust his driving, and he's been a good steward of the money that I send his way. But he also worked for it. Besides giving me, that advertising, he's done some decaling work for me and made me up, advertisement stuff and T-shirt I'm wearing. Any T-shirt that RVA Karting's ever sold has been designed by David Nettles. My RVA Karting logo was David Nettles. He actually made all the trophies for this last event at GoPro Motorplex. 27 different, trophies, and he basically made them all with, they're all wood discs with vinyl inserts on them, and it was a lot of work on his part. But he worked it the hard way. But now I'm on his cart, but he usually has a few guys that race with him. New to the team this year is Max Sanzalone, and I hear he's doing pretty good. He's rookie. But he's already geared up with it. And there's a couple other drivers. Brad, I'm going to say the last name wrong. Lorsham. I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. And then there's another guy, Tim. I want to say it's Tim Calvert. They're all going to have the RVA Karting logos on their carts. I will tell you, when you send some money somebody's way, and then 2 races later they get their first win of the season, and then a few races, they hit the end of the season, win a state championship. You feel pretty good for helping them out a little bit. It's not a huge amount, but I'm getting benefit out of it. They're getting benefit out of it. David's definitely, I've been really impressed at, for lack of a better term, the stewardship of the money. He makes sure that I know everything he's doing with the money I send his way. So, and he makes sure that by helping me, he helps himself. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, David Nettles. He's a great character. I've been around at the racetrack. I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last couple of years. Very, very loyal to the people that he knows, and very honest guy. And he works hard, man. He works hard at this racing thing, no matter if it's at Le Mans karting or at Albemarle or VDK even. So, David might get up with you too, man. Like Tommy said, I've heard your name quite a bit. So keep a check on your inbox, buddy. Comes on here. I wanted to ask you. I remember when you and I met, and your daughter and you were coming, and running at G-Force quite a bit. What did you ever imagine back then that you'd be kind of making a business out of this?
I didn't back then. It's cool that I can, and I mean, if I had my druthers, I'd love to figure out a way to maybe give G-Force a new place inside somewhere, to bring back the year-round passion that we can all have. But I'm not in that financial set. Maybe one day, I can have that dream. But it's definitely interesting. I've gotten to where I know the owners to multiple different tracks around the country and can have conversations and even entertain thoughts of doing different things in Texas or wherever. People. I've got a guy from South Carolina has been reaching out to me about an upcoming event, and he's trying to figure out the best way to deal with weight because he doesn't have weight baskets. He doesn't have any way to really enforce a weight rule, and he's just trying to figure out how to do it because he pays money for his events. And it's like how do you do that? Somebody shows up 200 pounds, somebody else shows up 150. Guys 150 is usually going to walk away from him. You just can't do anything about it. But one of the things you brought up, my daughter, one of the most exciting things I ever did, the third race out with her and I, and there was one other kid from G-Force. We did one of those Makes Enduro races. We did the whole season. The third race of the season, we managed to win the race with me and her. She was 14 at the time. She earned Supercard at 12 at G-Force, and the biggest problem I had with her was lack of aggression. She was just too used to being nice, but she was fast. And it's hard to get her in a cart right now. She's so busy with college and everything else, but she loved it. So now I got the 5-year-old that I'm working on. Her already has her own helmet. We have comms in them. We've been in the 2-seaters, and she'll actually tell me, "Hey, can I do this next turn?" And 5 years old, she's turning those 2-seater Sodi carts and twisting on around the track and talking about, well, that person did a stupid move and all this other stuff. I mean, there's only one video game she's ever played at home. And it's called Ryan's Racing on Ryan's Mystery Playdate. They've got a racing game, and she plays that on Xbox. So,
well, like I said, I wanted to bring up your family because that's how you and I, when we first met, that's what it was kind of about. But we have Chris. He's kind of in the waiting room right now. Can you hear me, Chris? All right. Is your camera working there, man? I got a black screen on my end. Yeah, it just says that it's webcam beta. All right. So, guys, if you haven't met Tommy and Chris yet, we kind of wanted to put a face to a name, and be able for you guys to be able to approach them if you wanted to ask them questions, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Chris on here, and we'll talk to him for a little bit, and I kind of wanted to ask the two of you while you're on here together for a couple, about 10 minutes. What sparked you guys coming in, teaming up together?
Do you want to go, Chris?
Well,
you want me to say?
Sure. I'll say Well, when we were getting ready to run our events up at VIR, the connections that Tommy had reminded me a lot of where we got started with indoor karting and how strong those connections were. And it just seemed like a natural fit in the progression of grassroots racing and coming up and then taking the next step outdoors. So, and his passion for racing is evident, and he wants everybody to have a great time. And I just thought it was a great fit. So that, from my perspective, that's what I thought. What about you, Tommy?
There he is.
Okay. Yeah, the screen was still black for some reason. I was waiting. I think it was loading. But yeah, Tommy, he's a good guy. He's always pushed a good time, and he's always been very upfront about what he wants, and especially in his business ventures now, he's been very upfront. So I think he's good to work with. And is there anything in the future that you guys maybe have talked about but haven't been able to put any plans on yet?
Everything right now, it's laid out there. We've got our races for this year, and just seems like, you know, with this the sold out event, with we got some waiting spots available for that. I think it's just the partnership is working out great, and I think we just continue to you know, look at opportunities. Tommy was great at introducing some fresh tracks that I had not considered, like at Camp Motorsport, where we'll be. And, you know, those kind of things, we'll just continue to bounce ideas around and hopefully put on awesome events.
So Chris and I actually first met face-to-face at Charlotte last year on my birthday, 52nd birthday, for his 8-hour endurance race that he had in the infield of turns 3 and 4 of Charlotte Motor Speedway. We were there running 8 hours while the Camp Car Endurance Series was running 15 hours around us on the Roval. That was interesting. But, you know, as I mentioned about supporting the community when I couldn't put on my own events, he was putting on events, and I had racers who wanted to race somewhere, and I had nowhere to race. So RVA Karting reached out. I reached out to Chris. We negotiated some, you know, price structure to see what we could do, and RVA Karting showed up with 5 teams in 5 different classes for his 8-hour race. You know, I think the only class we didn't show up with was, well, we didn't show up for solo, and we didn't show up for rookie. And every one of our teams at least podiumed in their class. Now, admittedly, the team I was on, the Legends class, we were the only Legends team, so we won our class pretty easy. But you know, we were all out there. We had fun. It was a lot of fun putting on the event. And you know, when you bring 5 teams to an event, you catch their attention. And I think that's when I caught Chris's attention. And then later, I was supposed to have an event at VIR later that year, and then they decided that because of COVID, they weren't going to offer rental carts anymore. But they said, yeah, we won't do rental carts, but you can rent the track or you can do this. And I immediately reached out to Chris and said, hey, this is what they're saying. They want to rent the track. What can we do? And that's how the 6-hour that ran last October started off. And that was pretty good. 15 teams at last minute notice is pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you guys too. Okay, I know some people may look at the price of a team to enter these events, okay, and they're not realizing that. Would you just mention you guys have to rent the track for you guys to be able to do that event that day, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have to pay for the rental and be able to pay all the track time and everything else, just so everyone, and if there's prizes, you have to be able to pay for all the prizes also.
And there's also insurance.
Insurance, yes. Insurance is another big thing. So I know a lot of that goes into the price of these events. So really, when you're looking at it, I just wanted to throw out there that I've always thought that it's very reasonable when you break it down. But I know it's really hard for some people to look at that price and say, I don't understand why it's so much. But I'm glad that can be laid out that way.
Right. And yeah, a lot of people are used to breaking it up into smaller bites. And, you know, when they're racing indoors or when they're racing their own kart, you have a big expense up front, and then it's, you know, you pay as you go. I mean, right now I just left the shop, and we had guys working all day on go-karts there. So we don't just show up with equipment that fixes itself with nanobots and run. They have to be worked on. They have to be prepared. We have to spend money on hotels. We have to have trucks and trailers, and there's a lot that goes on. So that's one of the things that of bringing in equipment that we can control the quality of, compared to when you're maybe at the mercy of if you're just renting somebody else's track equipment parts there, then there are additional costs that come with it for sure.
Yeah, I understand, and that's where Tommy and I have mentioned this before with the Arrive and Drive, and with you all bringing your own carts, Chris, with the endurance karting. You said you bring your own carts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you bring in your own carts, and Tommy, when you run just RVA karting, it is track supplied carts, right?
Right. I do not have my own fleet, so yeah, definitely.
Right. So when you guys decided to do events together, was that something, Chris, that you said we're still going to use my carts, but we're going to have to change some things up, and we're going to have to work with these rules?
Yeah, I mean, it was we were going to use our carts because we again have control over those, and they give us the best. We think they give us the best competition, and we do tweaks on things, and but I think the main thing is the spirit of the racing, which is what Tommy brings to it. He just, again, the passion, the love for it, and that's what we want. We want the passion for racing.
Yeah, I think with Chris's events, and he knows how I feel about this. His frequency of stops are a little bit higher than I normally would do with my average crowd, but Chris actually offers a rookie class. And I mean, it's not unusual to get. I think we had a 14-year-old at the one at VIR back in October that raced there for his birthday. Who's the young kid? Wasn't there somebody at Charlotte who was really young? Wasn't he like maybe 12?
Yeah,
So,
I had a 12-year-old. He joined his dad, and so father, son, and then we added another driver or two with him.
So I mean, it's endurance karting is more about bringing it to everybody. They've had people who have never raced a kart in their life show up to do an event, but they've also had Kevin Jordan. Is it Kevin Jordan? The Jordan brothers.
Jordan Taylor.
Ricky
Taylor.
Jordan and Ricky Taylor.
Okay.
They've shown up and raced.
That's
so
awesome.
I mean, he's definitely got his niche. And until last year, you'd been doing a 24-hour race every year, and of course, COVID kind of killed that for you last year. And I'm pretty sure we're not doing one this year anywhere. But if they do these events, they're doing 4 with RVA karting, but they're also doing 4 without us. From New York down to Florida to, is it Chicago? Is that where the 4th one is?
Chicago.
And honestly, COVID still got both of us a little bit down. I think if COVID wasn't the reality of the world, we might partnered for 6 races, and he might have 6 of his own. But we there's tracks I've wanted to run. Even at VIR, they have their own carts, but they have a 16 cart fleet. So guess what we can't do? We can't show up with 18 teams. We can't show up with 21 teams. We can only do about 10 because they need to have spares in case one breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's bringing his carts. So guess what we've got? We currently got 18 teams and may get as high as 21 teams for this 6-hour race coming up on April 24th. As we mentioned, a few spots left. We'd love to make it a true sellout. It'd be pretty amazing. Love to see that. I mean, that track can handle that many carts. We just don't they just don't have the carts. Camp Motorsport, this is a little known place that's in the heart of Virginia. It's a summer camp for kids. They've even got a dirt oval out there, and they've got a mixture of Sodi rentals and Burrell rentals, and it's just not something where we could go out there and use their fleet to try and put on a successful event. But this just about a mile course that I've posted a couple of videos of on YouTube in the last week or two. I hit 53 miles an hour in my LO206 and haven't even tried to tweak or anything. Just ran 53, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing on any kart track. Short of doing something like a full course at VIR and a 100-mile-an-hour kart, lay down kart. Doing a small kart track, this is going to be pretty awesome. So Camp Motorsport's going to be awesome. He's letting RVA karting be a part of Charlotte Motor Speedway come July, and then October is the return to Summit Point Raceway's old kart track, which hasn't had karts on it in about 6 years. So it's really neat bringing these venues, bringing a venue back, bringing a venue to light that people didn't know was there because you had to be 9 to 17 years old to actually race there.
Mhm.
And it's just some really neat things that we're partnering together with, and hopefully, I'm still trying to work out the details, but I think I'm going to roll down with Chris and them down to their race in Jacksonville, Florida, in early June, and help them with that one, and kind of see what that's all about. To do one of these ones that's kind of farther away.
All right. Well, guys, I'm really glad we got you guys together for a few minutes. And Tommy, before you go ahead and send me the link too, also for your YouTube page. And I'll post that to the page so you guys can check out some camera footage that Tommy got from the Arrive and Drive karts and things like that. And maybe he'll have a video of one of the endurance karting and RVA races coming up here soon, so you guys can check that out too. But Tommy, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on here. I think we're going to grab just a little bit here with Chris McCoy, and yeah, we'll keep up with you guys. All right.
I'll be listening in.
No problem.
Thanks, Chris. I'll catch you later.
All right, man.
All right, Chris. So I asked Tommy kind of early in the show, what kind of got you into racing?
Well, I always liked cars. I think my first words were truck udden or something like that. And then when I first then got into racing, I think it was about 1985. My dad took me to Talladega, and that was pretty awesome back in the day. I don't recall that much about it, except it was loud and it was hot and it was fun. And we didn't die in an airplane flying over there in a thunderstorm. And then, but that just gave me the love, and I read every Car and Driver, Road and Track magazine, and then I started seeing the ads in the back for Skip Barber Racing School, and I knew I had it, man. I was going to be a race car driver, professional for sure. And I didn't really get in a race car until 1997, when my wife actually won a trip to Skip Barber Racing School that she gave to me for a wedding gift. And then they didn't offer me a ride after I completed the school. I was shocked that I know for sure they were going to give me a sponsorship. So you're going to go right to racing, something sports cars or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Not really, but I did that. And so that was a dream come true at Road Atlanta, to do it before the reconfiguration they did there. Was pretty awesome. And then it took me a few years to figure out that I wasn't even going to race my own sports cars, and a place called Andretti Indoor Karting and Games opened up near us. Actually, it was called Andretti Speed Lab back in the day. And they had karts there. It was like 5 miles from my house. And I fell in love with karting. Wasn't very good at all. But I was there a lot and made a lot of good friends who helped me. And then they had a league, and we went from there, and I was racing.
So your story sounds a lot like Tommy Jeter's, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know, right?
I feel like there's just when Tommy and I met, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Chris in person. For anybody that's watching this, Chris was a very highly recommended guest for our show from Tommy, and I wanted to reach out to him myself. But as far as reaching or meeting Tommy or meeting anyone at these kart tracks, indoor karts or outdoor karts, from GoPro Motorplex to G-Force Karts, Le Mans Karting, wherever it is, you meet some very incredible people at these things, and it's really nice to get to spend some time with these people and just kind of relax. It eases a lot of the stresses of normal life, and it's not like normal racing. It's a lot more relaxed than normal racing. So, well,
until you dial it up to 11.
Well, when you're running the show, it's a little different. For you guys, it's a little different now. But
yeah,
what got and for anybody watching, also, Tommy Jeter just shared the link to his YouTube page in our comments. Go ahead and click that link if you want to follow him. And what got you to start endurance karting?
Well, actually, it goes back to Andretti's again. They were hosting a league and they were going to let it go away. And a couple of friends decided that we were going to take it over. So we said, do you mind if we run it? And they said no. So we started running it, and then we're getting to we did it for a few years, and then Dennis was one of my partners with that, and he moved to New York, and so then it was just me. And so we ended up, I was working in commercial real estate at the time, and the whole market tanked, imploded, and I needed something to do for work. So I actually started renting the Andretti track in the mornings before they opened. And we would get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, do kart setup, meticulously test them, time them, get them close, and then race. And so for the years, we did that for a few years. So, and along the way, similar in time frame to when I started at Andretti, started racing there, my friend Ennis said, hey, there's this awesome place, this awesome karting event in Jacksonville, and it's run by a guy named Johann Schwartz of Endurance Karting. And he started that in 2001, about the same time we started Pro Cup Karting, which was the league at Andretti's. And so we went and did a 12-hour race there. I think it was 12. And we had like 6 guys. We had way too many people. And we didn't know what we were doing. We had dirt track guys. Ennis was a Formula Ford racer. I had done the Skip Barber school, but that was about it, an indoor. And then we had a motorcycle guy, and then we had another dirt track karter. So we all went and we did this race, and we did terribly. I think we finished middle of the pack. So that was my introduction to endurance karting. And now here we are getting ready to run the 19th version of the Jacksonville Grand Prix from that event, which will be coming up in June. So that benefits the Spina Bifida Association of Jacksonville, which is an awesome charity that we get to help out with the event. But so that's where we started. And then I got hooked. I'm ready to do more karting. We just show up and we race. I don't have to wrench anything. I don't have to tow anything. I don't have to, if my part breaks, as long as it's not my fault, they give me another one and we keep going. And so with Karting League, we arranged to do prizes. So as part of Endurance Karting, they sponsored us through prizes. So you get credits for your wins that you would then take. Skip Barber Racing School actually gave away a school through us too, which is pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
So they would do that for our winners. And I got to where I was like Tommy, similar thing, taking 5, 7 teams to endurance karting events. And about 2012, Karen is Johann's wife, and she pulled me aside and said, hey, Johann wants to race cars. He really needs to make a push at this time in his life. And we don't have time to do both. Would you be interested in purchasing endurance karting from us? So they had been running it for, at that point, 11 years. And it had been another, I think a couple of years, a little bit of another rendition before that. But as endurance karting, 11 years. And then I thought she was joking. I was like, yeah, whatever. Nobody can do this like you can. And some people would agree with her, with me in that case. But she's then I went to another event and she goes, I'm not kidding. We're going to do this. So let's see what we can work out. And so in that process, we did work it out. So in 2013, July, I purchased Endurance Karting, and we picked up their schedule at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut, where they were running at a time, which everybody, and if anybody's watching, I get asked to run at Lime Rock all the time now. We still want to run at Lime Rock Park, but they need to make some improvements to their surface, and they are right now they're having to try really hard to stay open. They're fighting, not that they're at risk of closing. I don't want to start any rumors, but the community is tough to battle with there, and they're having to put a lot of money toward that, and they can't invest in for karting. We don't generate enough revenue for the investment right now. So we run at a great place called Oakland Valley Race Park over in Cutterbackville, New York, which is only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from there, and is a true karting track rather than just autocross thing. And we'll be there this year. We sold it out last year and hoping to be back there. I hope to have a sellout again this time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I moved from Richmond to Delaware. For those people that don't know, I keep getting asked about it. So being closer to New York now, I might have to come check it out. So
you definitely should. Really fun track, and we'll be there actually twice this year. We have a spring and a fall event there.
I might have to check the fall one out. So I had mentioned also that I had raced with Tommy previously. Is there a group of guys that you have stuck with, like as far as, I know you're kind of running it right now, but are you still driving yourself in these endurance karting events?
Unfortunately not. I had a team, and the guys I'm still very close with, and we compete a lot. We competed a lot. And so going back to, I guess we did 5 24-hour races together as part of endurance karting. Started down at Moroso, which is now known as Palm Beach International Raceway. They don't do karting there now because of a really terrible incident that happened down there that they had to shut down the karting track. But so that's where we started together, and it was so awesome. I mean, we would have conference calls, and it was serious, quote unquote. We were like trying to find every little advantage, and you'd brainstorm about this and that. We'd spreadsheets for your stops, and it was how do we game the system, and all the things. The cheaters become the officials at some point, right? Like Robin Pemberton or somebody that's in NASCAR. So that's where I learned a lot of what to look for. And today, I'll send things up to one of them's a lawyer, so I'll send him a thing, and I'm like, all right, I know you don't want to tell me this, but I want you to find a loophole in this for me so that I can go ahead and close it. But yeah, so those guys were still close, and since that time we've got kids, and it's great to see their kids growing up. And my kids actually have raced. They've done 5 24-hour races together, and they've got groups of kids that, when we were doing the Pro Cup Karting League, we were doing camps. So we were having all these kids come through in the summer, which is awesome. And the ones who were serious about it would then race in our kids' league. And then they would subsequently come race with us in endurance karting. And if you don't mind, I just wanted to share, we have Dylan Murray. I don't know if you're familiar with Dylan, but he's now in IMSA WeatherTech Series, competed in the Rolex 24 this past year.
Okay.
Yep, and he was also in Porsche GT3 Series. Miles Rowe is now in USF 2000, so he is competing to go up to. His goal is F1, but he's on the path to IndyCar right now. He's pretty awesome. And then we've got Neve Taylor, who is in Euro NASCAR. He lives in Israel. So, it's pretty awesome to see those kids who are the same age as my kids growing up into being successful racers.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that not only are you guys putting on these incredible events, but you're just those 3 drivers that you mentioned. That's an incredible 3 series to be working towards, like that their careers are headed towards. And how does it make you guys feel knowing that their start came from working with you all? Not because of you all, but how does it feel that they started with you guys?
Right. I can't take any credit for their determination and their the work they put in to be there, because the fact that they are just fantastic kids. They still are kids, even though they're 18 years old or 20 years old or whatever. It gives me chills, when I read an article that Miles was in the Indianapolis paper, and they talked about how he got his start. He gave us a shout out, which was awesome. We said without Pro Cup Karting, giving us a place to go race. My parents didn't have to buy a cart. I could show them that I had the determination and this talent to compete, and that's what he did. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you mentioned all you guys have kids now. How old are your kids?
One's about to turn 18, and I've got a 20-year-old in college who is studying to be a pilot.
Oh, okay. So the speed is running in the family.
Yes.
Was there a time where where they were running a lot of races and you had thought about maybe trying to push them into something else, or did they just not show the interest as much in that, like pushing it further?
You mean like running cars?
I mean, running anything else, like they have the traveling world traveling kart series that you can go run also.
We didn't have a ton of resources. We were pretty invested in the business at the time, and so this was what was in front of them that they could do, and and being able to go compete in those and be able to race against the Jordan and Ricky Taylor, they were ecstatic. Zach Veach competed with us. Zach is a former IndyCar driver now in the WeatherTech series. He's competed with us, and be able to go run with those guys was something that was just like super cool for them to be a part of. And when I was doing it back in the day, I mean, we raced against Richie Hearn, who was a former IndyCar driver. Mm-hmm. Trevor Bain raced with us at Moroso, and he was on a team with Chad McCumbee and another driver. And Ernie Irvins raced with us. I mean, before my time being there. But so, those kinds of things, when it doesn't happen every time. We don't always have a celebrity or a pro driver at our events, but mm-hmm. when it does happen, it does make it a special.
Yeah, you guys have a strong heritage apparently with all those names. Not many organizations like yours can look back and say that they have as many, or maybe even a handful of guys and girls that have come through there and are as that talented. So I think it's incredible. And I wanted to ask also, running the series and things that you have, has there been a time when you've had, or is there a sponsor potentially that you guys have picked up that has really helped along the way?
We haven't done much sponsorship, and that might be somewhere where we look at more. But typically, a lot of the sponsors have certain demands, and we don't want to necessarily be beholden to somebody over something. So we've kind of generally stayed away from those. I consider our tracks very much partners. And that is our, being able to run at Charlotte Motor Speedway, that's where I raced a ton with endurance karting when I was coming along. And that's one of the reasons we're able to get some of the NASCAR guys, is being so close to Charlotte, there in the Mooresville and where all the shops are. So Charlotte has been a great partner. Lime Rock has been a great partner over the years. Our race at the Bushnell Motorsports Park down in Florida. They're the group down there, Brett, does a great job. Jacksonville. Jacksonville is huge for us. To have been running there, close to 20 years. Mm-hmm. It's pretty phenomenal. And for those of you who don't know, Jacksonville is 103rd Street Sports Complex. It is a public park, okay, run by the city of Jacksonville. And you can just show up with your cart and run. So anybody can take their cart there and run, which is just phenomenal. Yes. We get to go, when we go down there for our events, we usually arrive early in the week and do a lot of testing and set up and have battles. We get to get out there and battle, and the drafting is huge. If you're ahead on entering the back straightaway, you are not crossing the start-finish line first most times, because it's a 1,000-foot straightaway, and the draft is huge. So, yep, really fun. We encourage you guys to check that out for June 5th if you're looking to get on the road and come do some karting in Florida.
Oh, that is tempting. Also, you guys are killing me here. I got a schedule that's a mile long for my wife and I and my brother-in-law, and I gotta squeeze this stuff in somewhere.
Oh, come to Florida, man! Come on.
I can't say I wouldn't come to Florida, but yeah, I know like I mentioned before, I hadn't met you, and getting the chance to talk to you on here, and not just mentioning the names that you did, but mentioning the relationships that you've had with the different tracks, or your relationship with Tommy now, how the respect I can see that you guys have for growing this and taking it further, and just appreciating what you've been, the people that have come in along the way and helped you guys grow and things like that. It's incredible. And I'm, like I said, I'm really glad that I got to talk to you about it. But
Me too. Me too. I really appreciate it. And we do, and the fact that we have people, I want to shout out to all the people who race with us. We have people who travel from all over. I mean, we have people register for the Florida race from Connecticut. Who isn't in a hurry to get out of Connecticut for a few days. And there are some beautiful areas. But we have people for our 24-hour events who travel from all over the world. We are looking to get back on track with a 24-hour event next year. So, and we would love to have you be a part of it, and as part of broadcast there and interviewing our drivers, and I think that'd be killer.
Yeah, I'm working on growing it a little bit first. We're only in episode 6, but I'm really glad. I'm really happy with the people that we've had so far. We've had some pretty incredible people on the show, and including you guys. And it's really cool that I can get somebody like Tommy on here that I've known forever, and still learn something every time he comes on here about this stuff. So, Chris, I think we're going to go ahead and call it a show on this one.
Okay.
And I've got a couple announcements to make, and I just wanted to say thank you one more time for coming on here. And I'm going to look up you guys' schedule, and I'll get up with you and Tommy, and I'm going to try and come to at least one of those events this year.
Awesome. If I could encourage everybody to look at endurancekarting.com, endurancekarting.com, you'll see there's our schedule. Under the schedule link, you can register. But if you have questions, if you've never karted before, you're welcome. If you've done 10,000 miles in a go-kart, you're still welcome. We make it challenging, make it fun. And if you want to chat with me, there's a link at the bottom of that, or on our Facebook page, any of that. We're here to help. We want people to race, have a great time. And I really appreciate the opportunity for you giving me here today, and the time. Thank you.
Absolutely, Chris. And like he said, message Chris McCoy, or search the Endurance Karting page, or you can get with Tommy Jeter, they're starting to part up with Endurance Karting, or you can look on RVA Karting, and their events are starting to cross a little bit. So again, Chris, thank you, guys. Thank you. And Tommy, also, I know you're still watching. Thank you guys both for coming on here so much. I've really enjoyed talking to both of you, and I hope to get to talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks.
All right. I think that was a great show. And John, I agree. Thank you so much. And thank you again to Tommy and Chris for coming on here. It was great. Tommy shared a bunch of links on here for us. The YouTube channel, RVA Karting on Facebook. Make sure you follow along with those guys. And if you haven't liked our page yet and you're just tuning in with Tommy and Chris, go ahead and like our page, follow our page, and give us some feedback. I'm all ears for feedback. I love feedback. I can always adapt and change some things here and there. I try and make the show a little better each time I do it. So this is for you guys. I enjoy talking to everyone, but the show is for everyone. The show is for everyone watching, not for me. So without further ado, 7 o'clock right now, 7:02. We have come to the end of this show, so I guess we need to set up for next show. So next week, we're going to have somebody we've had on the channel, but not in an episode yet. It's going to be a dirt karter, and it's going to be Mr. Steven Adams at 6 p.m. tomorrow, or 6 p.m. next week. And then tune in as normal on Monday for our second guest announcement. I know you guys are really going to want to hear this, and tune in for the show. It's going to be a really good one. And I'll go ahead and I'll tag Steven on my personal page and things like that. And if you guys have any questions too for Chris or Tommy, still go ahead. You can message the page here also, and I'll shoot them a message and send them your info. You know, they're trying to sell that event out. So go ahead and try and sell it out, and we'll get them as much entries as possible and see if we can make their partnership a very good one, because we want more karting, more racing, everything. We want everything to grow and expand. So that's what we're going with. But like I said, next week, tune in at 6 p.m. on Thursday to hear from Mr. Steven Adams first. And if you guys got any questions for him, go ahead and send them in. Comment on any of the links, things like that. I can write the questions down, so you can comment on the links. Or, you know, Steven, if you can share it, man. Apparently, that page, that one that he shared, has the most views of any video on our page so far. 2,000 views in like 2 weeks. So almost 2,000 views in 2 weeks. So thanks for sharing that, Steven, and we'll see you here next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Comments, everything, all the reactions. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you guys in